Hi everyone. This is very exciting. I hope everyone's had a good day so far. Brilliant. Thanks. Thank you. Brilliant. Right, let me share my screen. Look away for a second. I'm going to have to whiz back through my slides because for some reason it is gone right to the end and let's let it go. Right, here we go. So I am really excited to be hosting today's session on Brand View. If I haven't met you before, and I'm guessing I probably haven't met a lot of you unless any of you came to my session last year, which I did on a similar topic, but hopefully if you did come, you'll still take lots away from today. But my name is, oh, hang on. Right, how do I switch here? Why is that now not working? Studio, could you help? There we go. So for those of you that haven't met me, sorry, my name is Michaela Jackson. I'm an international performance coach and I'm the founder of She Almighty, which provides coaching, services, courses and events for women all over the world. And She Almighty is an aspirational community of women self-empowering to be the best version of themselves and to create careers, businesses and lives they love with positive impact. So that's a little bit about me, but you're all here to learn more about personal brand, right? So how to carve out a compelling personal brand to maximize your influence and impact. Who's excited about learning about this today? Comments, please, would be great. Anything that you want to know more about, questions in there, and I'll try and cover everything that I'm going along. That would be really wonderful. But today what I'm going to do is I am going to do a little bit of brainstorming around what personal brand is and why it's important with you. I say brainstorming, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to bring any of you in, so maybe I'll just have to kind of talk you through it, and maybe we can do a bit of conversing at the end, which would be lovely. If not, I'll talk you through it, and then I'm going to be coaching you as a group because believe it or not, what I do works best when you do the work. Sounds like a great excuse, doesn't it? But it is true. So I am going to be asking you some questions that is going to get you to dig deep into what your personal brand is all about so that you can communicate it effectively and have the desired impact that you want to. And you can have, I'm not going to actually, I was just about to give some stuff away as to what personal brand is and why it's important. But this is what we're going to do today. We're going to do a group coaching session. So without further ado, shall we dive in and talk about what personal brand actually is? So first of all, just a quick quote from Jeff Bezos. It's a pretty famous one, but your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. But actually, what do we mean by personal brand and why is it important? Would anybody like to share a comment, have a voice on this? What do we think personal brand is and why is it important? Why have you showed up here today to learn more about personal brand? I can't actually see the comments at the moment. I'm not sure if any are coming through or if they're not. It looks a bit different to usual, my screen. Okay, I'm just going to keep moving because I don't want to hold anything up. But in a nutshell, our personal brand is about who we are, what our values are, what we stand for, what we actually do, how we communicate that to the world, and how we have impact. And the reason that a clear, confident, and compelling personal brand is important is it because it will enable you to connect with more like-minded people, attract relevant and exciting opportunities, will help you to position yourself as a leader in your field and have wider and more meaningful impact. Please give me a wave if you want to do one or all of those things, because I'm guessing that you do if you want to be here. Who doesn't, right? Okay, but a little bit of an overview about what personal brand is. But what are the things that we then need to think about when communicating our personal brand? Anybody want to share? I wonder if I can pick on anyone. Any comments coming through? Hi, Nicola. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi. I thought I'd get a bit of interaction going because I wasn't sure if the comments were coming through, but would you be happy to have a little bit contribute to the brainstorm here about things we need to think about when communicating our personal brand?
Nothing quite like being put on the spot, is there?
No pressure. No pressure.
I think your personal brand is a lot about how people interpret you, your behaviours, and what you stand for. And I think certainly something that I've experienced is how I think I come across has actually been taken in different ways by other people. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here today, to try and understand the links between the you that you perceive and the you that other people perceive.
Interesting. And do you feel that in your case, do you feel that they differ, or are you not sure? Is that something that you want to figure out, or where are you with that? What made you think about that part of it?
I mean, in my career, I'm actually progressing into a new role early next year, and it's something that's going to require me to network an awful lot more. So that's something where I thought, actually, this is something that I really need to look into, need to expand. And I think I can be reserved sometimes in my interactions, despite being put on the spot now, but that has, I've been told, come across as cold. And that is definitely not my intention. So it's things like that I want to understand. Sometimes certainly in face-to-face meetings, I might be thinking, and other people perceive that as me being distant sometimes.
Okay, so for you, it almost links to, well, it's perception, but the behaviors, so all the way that you're sort of coming across in sort of those everyday kind of communication scenarios a little bit more, whether that be in a meeting or with a colleague or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was brilliant. So thank you very much, because I realised I put you on the spot there, and I do appreciate your contribution. I'm going to pick on a couple of more people if that's okay. Kirsten, can you hear me? Ask to unmute.
Yes, I can, and I can also show myself.
Excellent. Yeah, any faces? I'd love to see. If you want to turn your cameras on, that would be wonderful. Definitely encouraged.
So I think we need to think about our strength, our unique selling points that we want to transmit, and to make it our brand somehow.
Absolutely. We are all unique, aren't we? And we all have different strengths and experiences and all of that kind of thing. So how we can recognize those and play to them and bring them to the forefront so others can see that too. Excellent. Okay. What about Julie?
I think it's really difficult. Oh, sorry, you can hear me, can't you?
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
oh,
brilliant.
Fantastic. Never sure whether I'm just talking to myself.
That's how I felt a minute ago. It's better.
For me, it's the perception of someone else, but I think also them being open as well. I think there's that measure, isn't there, of sort of like of your personal brand, and then actually them being open to it. So I think was it Nicola earlier who was saying that she was sometimes when she's thinking, people thinking that she's being cold rather than that she's just trying to think things through. And I think it's that balance, isn't it, of you being aware of your brand, but also other people being open to well, maybe you are thinking and maybe you need to, I don't know, look serious when you're thinking, or take that moment as well. So I suppose I need to be aware of that in others, and then that will probably increase my personal brand, because then I'm not having biased judgments about, well, they're not talking back quick enough, so therefore this is XYZ.
Okay, so it sounds like for you there's a degree of open-mindedness there, but having an understanding of different kinds of behaviors and personalities and how they might be operating. it's interesting. This is almost kind of like, it's sort of it's behaviors, isn't it, in a way that we're sort of focusing on a little bit here about our own. But I guess it's that perception piece that we're kind of talking about quite a bit here. That's great. Thank you very much for sharing that. I'm going to pick on one more person and then I'm going to move on. Grace, would you mind contributing?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, yes, thank you.
I guess thinking about how you personally want to make a difference is something you'd think about, and how you want your personal brand to be. And then also, I guess when I'm putting something out there, it's how you, not only how you're associated, but how that would be associated with the company you work for. Because although it's your personal brand, you share the same ethos as them, or you'd hope that you did. So I guess it's just thinking about that when you're portraying your personal brand, particularly online.
That's actually a really interesting point, isn't it? I'm guessing most of you here work for companies. Does anybody have their own business? Either way, I mean, but yeah, if you're working for an organization, you would be thinking about how you would be, what message you would be putting out there. Does it align with your organization? But equally, you are able, I think the very point of having your own personal brand is that so that you can stand out within your organization, so internally and externally. Because if you want to attract opportunities, not just on the basis of your organization or your role there, but you want to create other amazing experiences for yourself, or you feel particularly strongly about something, or you want to be known for something. For example, it might be that what you do and what you want to be known for does very much align with your organization, but you'd like to write a book or be known for that externally as well, or be asked to speak on events regardless of your role. So there's, sorry, just admitting someone. There's a bit of both. There's definitely that consideration, because you don't want to be putting something out there that doesn't align with your organization. There's that consideration, I suppose. But in saying that you are your own person, so I guess it's just measuring that. But what I love, what you said there is considering the difference that you want to make. And that's quite a nice segue actually into some of the things that I've put here. And these are by no means exclusive, but these are the things that came to me to think about when communicating our personal brand. So audience, first of all, right, who do we actually want to influence or help? So I think something that didn't necessarily come out in our comments there is, I think a few of you, which is obviously very important, we're thinking about you, but it's actually thinking about it on the other side, right? So, okay, what will my behaviors, my vision, my behaviors, who do I actually want to reach? Who do I want to have influence over? Because a personal brand is kind of an outer thing, isn't it? It's outer communication, but it's really important that we do the inner work to know all that stuff first before we communicate that message outwardly, which links into this vision, mission, and why piece. So I'm not sure if any of you have stopped and thought that through around actually what is my vision, whether it be within this organization or whether it be a wider cause that you feel really passionate about. Your vision is that sort of bigger picture. And I'm going to go into this in more detail, so don't worry if this doesn't make too much sense. But the vision is kind of the bigger picture. The mission is how you're going to go about doing that in your workplace, for example, or outside of it, so that mission that you're on. And then your why is actually, okay, so why do you actually feel passionate about that? Why do you show up and do it? So it's this real sense of purpose. Because if you're operating like that within an organization or outside of an organization, guess what? People are going to listen to you, look to you. You're going to be effectively leading by example. So you're carving out that personal brand, and it means that you have it's a signifier that you have an inner confidence in who you are, what's important to you, and what you stand for. That then kind of links to what we want to be known for, right? So is it, that you want to be known to be really great at something, a particular thing within your organization, whether it be managing your team to deliver really successful or effective or results-driven projects? Or is it that you want to be known for your philanthropic kind of things that you're making happen. You know, what is it that's actually important to you that you want people to be talking about you? So it's almost like, okay, the behaviors and things like that are important, but it's more about the doing of things, right? So this is what's important to me, this is what I'm doing, and this is therefore what people know about me. And that effect is sort of known over time, because we can talk about things, but if we don't actually do them, then we're not likely to be known for them. We all talk and no action, which then links to, and I think to Grace's point, making a difference, right? So what is your desired impact? What is the impact you want to have on your colleagues, on your friends, family, wider causes, the world? So it might be something within your organization as well as something outside of your organization. Those things might be very interlinked. But what is the impact? What is the mark you want to be leaving, the effect you want to be having? And with all of that, when you've done that inner work, and just to say, if all of this feels a bit big and scary, don't worry, this is exactly the kind of stuff that we're going to be working through today. So just bear with me for a moment. But what is really important then is that you can articulate your message, that you have a really clear and connected message that, I'm missing someone, that you can put out there to the world so that people know, okay, this is who she is, or he, if we got both on here, it's just she, isn't it? Women in tech, right? But this is, you know, this is who she is, this is what she stands for, and that's very clear to them, because you know that stuff, and you're connected, and you're communicating it in a very clear and connected way. And then lastly, at least on my list, but of course this is by all means not exhaustive, but it's the channels. So how will you actually get that message out to your audience effectively? So of course, if it's your colleagues, it might be showing, doing, might be via email or video calls in current times. What about social channels? What are you talking about there? What about speaking at events, on panels, in publications? What are all the different things or ways, methods that you could get your message out there to the audience, to the people that you want to be influencing and having effect over? In an organization, that might be people above you, people across from you, people down from you, or it might be within your industry. So it might be that you want to be known for being really great at something within your industry, or for particular values, qualities, attributes that you embody. Okay, hopefully that was a little bit helpful. Does anybody want to kind of ask any questions at this point, or hopefully that kind of made sense and is useful for you to start thinking about personal brand type stuff? But feel free to voice if you want to. Okay, so guys, we're going to dive in. I hope you've got a notepad and pen at the ready. If any of you need these questions afterwards, then I'm more than happy to send them to you. But I'm going to read them out, and then I'm going to coach you through these questions. So I'll give you a moment to write the question down if you want to, or take a picture, it might be easier, and then for you to answer it. So I'll give you a minute or a couple of minutes perhaps, on each of these questions. This is really about doing the inner work around what your personal brand is, or you aspire it to be. So first question number 3, but the first one that you're answering by yourself. So which brands do you admire and why? So if you could be the face of any brand, which would you choose? So for example, this might feel like a big question, but is it a sporting brand? Is it a well-being brand? Is it a tech brand or tech company, or product? And what is it about those brands that you admire? Is it their message? Is it their customer service? Is it their ethos? Is it amazing products? Is it their longevity? Is it their credibility? Is it their integrity, their honesty? What are they known for? Why do you resonate with those brands, and why would you associate yourself with that brand? So I'll give you a moment to have a little bit of a think about that. reason that I want you to have a think about this is because whether we're conscious of it or not, I'm sure we all kind of are bought into certain brands, whether it be clothing brands or that we subscribe to. There's lots of ways in which we're interacting or using or purchasing brands, these days. So just have a little think about your lifestyle. It will probably be a bit more obvious when you think about it that way. What do you buy? What do you use, and why? What would you like to be buying if you had the money, for example, or if you had the time, which we all do have the time, by the way. It's how we choose to use it. Right, hopefully you've had enough time for that one. But if anybody needs more time at any point, just give me a wave. And of course, you can come back to these questions if they require a bit of thought. Next question. So I want you to think about a person now. So whose personal brand do you relate or aspire to? What is it about them? What values and qualities do they exhibit? So this could be a business person. It could be somebody that you see on TV or radio. It could be a friend. It could be a colleague. It could be a leader within your organization or within the industry or another industry. I'm sure that all of us can think of someone that we just kind of just really admire. They've just got certain qualities that we really resonate with. So I guess really obvious one that I think of that I think it comes up a lot with me and my clients at the moment is Michelle Obama. Quite an amazing woman. She has been married to president and never really, or maybe at the time, definitely not now, stepped into her power and is doing some amazing work, has her own book, podcast. She's really carved that out for herself. I'm sure she's got a team and a lot of help along the way. But definitely doing a lot of things right with regards to personal brand, a lot of positive messages, having great impact. And we see her on different levels, right? As a mother, as a wife, as a philanthropic figure, all these sorts of things. So who do you really admire and what is it about them? This might give you some clues as to around the types of values that you have, or perhaps those that you would like to embody and demonstrate through your personal brand. It also might be about what they do, what they're doing with their brand. Next question. So this actually leads me to my next question. What are your values? I wonder how many of you know what your values are and feel strong in that. What's important to you? What is the essence of you and makes you who you are? So our values are like our guiding principles, things that we kind of live our life by that we deem really important. So it might be things like honesty and integrity. If we really hold those values close, they're important to us, and then we're not getting those in our workplace or our relationships, chances are we'll be feeling very conflicted. That's a pretty good measure. So what are your values? What values would you like to demonstrate? What would you like people to see in you? Is it a great work ethic? Is it that you want to be seen for, I work hard, but I've got great balance, and I get done what I need to do, but I've also got a wonderful family life. I look after my well-being. I want to lead by example for my team or my family. So what do you make time for? What do you hold dear? What is non-negotiable for you? What do people say about you? This might be an easier one. What do people say about you and your qualities and what they love about you? This is kind of the inner work. It's the deeper stuff. Okay, next question. What are you passionate or angry about? Where would you most like to see change, make a difference, have impact? So this could be within your organization. This could be within your community, society, the wider world. What is it that really riles you up, gets you going? I guess there is an element of picking our battles here. And when I say that, I mean, probably a lot of us feel angry about a lot of things, whether it be gender equality or poverty or climate change, so on and so forth, talking about kind of bigger, wider scale problems there. But what do we resonate with most? You know, my brand, I guess, She Almighty is pretty obvious. It's for women. And, you know, a big part I'm going to get to this about why I do what I do is that I feel passionate about being an independent, strong woman, living my best life, having a career in life I love. And so my life's work is that, right? Supporting other women to do the same, which, you know, in turn actually does somewhat link to that gender piece and gender equality. So, you know, my sort of vision is linked to that around empowered female leaders of all ages, stages, backgrounds. So where would you like to make a difference? Because if you're operating with this real sense of purpose, actually the smaller stuff, like or somebody thinks I'm cold, or, you know, those behavior things matter much less, because actually you feel more confident in who you are, what you stand for, how you're going about your everyday life, the bigger picture stuff. And yeah, you worry less about those things. And I'm talking about this in a professional sense and in a personal sense. So this is real purpose. Next question. Who would you like to inspire, offer value to, or engage with? And who are your audience? So how many of you, I wonder, have matters, or how many of you have ambitions to inspire? Is that important to you? If it's not about being inspiring for you, I'm guessing most of you would like to offer some kind of value or engage with people on some level, whether it be you know, people that you manage or lead or mentor, or you know, within an organization or your peers. This could be within, remember again, within your organization, outside of, within your community, within society. You have the realms to think about. You're not just a number within an organization. You are so much more than that. And you can affect so many things in different ways. But what are you passionate about? So again, it's thinking about, we touched on this, one of the points that I mentioned, who are your audience? So if you could be connecting with people, helping people, influencing people, who would they be? Age, gender, demographic, etc. And this is really important to know, actually, because it will affect the nature of your message, and then of course your actions as well, because we will communicate differently to different types of people in different environments as well. So this is really important. Next question. So I want you to think a bit bigger here. I'm sure lots of you here are ambitious. You showed up today. You're working on yourself, your growth. So what is your ultimate career aspiration? And if you could have any accolade, what would it be? And what would you like to be known for? So I ask this because actually when carving out your personal brand, it's not just thinking about who you are now, or even necessarily thinking about the next step. It's thinking about the bigger picture stuff. So where do you want to be? Because in order to get there, you can really leverage if you're clever. And if you really are clear on your personal brand, you can leverage that to make that happen for yourself and to make it happen sooner. So that is why it's so important to know these things. Actually, what are my values? What's my vision? And we're going to get to that, don't worry. But all of these things feed into you showing up really confidently and taking ownership and responsibility for your best, most fulfilling career in life. So accolades might not be important to you. Maybe you want an MB or an OB or something like that. Maybe not. Maybe it's to be an author. Who knows? You tell me. But what, if there isn't an accolade, what would you like to be known for? This doesn't have to be anything major or showy. It could be for being a great person, for being great at your job. But if it is those things, what are the measures of that? So how will you know, and how will others know when you are doing a great job or that you're a really kind person? And why is that important to you? So I don't want you to worry about how you're going to get there either, because often when we think about these kind of bigger, grandiose kind of thoughts like ultimate career or big goals, people feel a bit scared and think, oh my gosh, I can never achieve that. I hope none of you are thinking that way, but if you are, I don't want you to worry about that. I want you to think about what you actually want so that you can leverage your brand in order to help you get there. And it can play into it. Next question. So where can you offer value? What do you do better than anyone else? What experience do you bring? I think somebody mentioned strengths when we were contributing. Absolutely. So what strengths, what experience do you bring? What makes you stand out from your peers in your industry? What is your superpower? So a lot of the clients that I work with need a little bit of probing to actually be able to recognize, talk about, play to their strengths. Often I think it's something that we play down. Maybe it's a girls be modest kind of thing, but it's really important that we know our value, that how all of our experiences and our stories are unique and valuable, because that is and I think I've got a quote in it next, which I just love, and I'll come to it in a minute. But we're all unique. We've all got different experiences. We've all got different skills. But actually, people might not know that about us if we don't communicate that. So we've really got to know this stuff to be able to talk about it and utilize it. So if you weren't being modest and you were tooting your own horn, what would you say makes you stand out from your peers? What is your superpower? And if you don't know this, or if you don't feel strongly about this, think about actually, what would I love my superpower to be? If I could be great at anything, what would it be? Because guess what? We can work on that. So a little bit of a reprieve, a little quote from Oscar Wilde. I just thought it was a really nice, simple one. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. It's so true, isn't it? We all have, like I just said, we're all unique. We all have our own stories. Even the good, the bad, the ugly, we've got to own it all because it makes us who we are, and contributes to what we bring to the table. So really, this personal brand stuff is about you being authentic. So through knowing your values, knowing your strengths, knowing what's important to you, no one person is going to have the same across all of those. So who are you? What's important to you? What do you want people to know about you? Next question. So these are biggies, and you might need to go away with these, but I'm going to share mine with you to help you with this a little bit as well. What is your vision, your mission, and why for doing what you do? So your purpose. What underpins brand new, and how is this authentic to you? So like I was saying before, when I talk about vision, I'm talking about the bigger picture stuff. And mission is how you're going to go about doing that. And your why is the reason that you show up to do it. I'll just let you have a moment with that to think. And then I'm going to share mine with you just to give you a little bit of an idea to help you in case this is a bit of a struggle, because let's face it, they're pretty big. And I know articulating these doesn't necessarily come easy. I run a leadership mastermind, and this was the first exercise I gave them. So you can imagine they were like, what? But I wanted to kind of test them at the beginning, see how much they knew, so that we're working through a 12-month program together to build on all of this stuff so that by the end of it, they feel super confident in all of this stuff. And it will enable them to level up, leverage their personal brand, have the impact that they want to, and achieve their goals. Okay, so a little bit of a share. So my vision is a world full of empowered female leaders of all ages, stages, and backgrounds. So I shared that with you. So that's a big vision, right? And then my mission is something that I'm sort of doing, the way that I'm kind of actioning that. So my contribution to that vision, if you like. So my mission is to power a global community of aspirational women that are living and leading by example, to be the best version of themselves and to have a positive impact for others. So how I'm actually doing that is I do that through one-to-one coaching. I do that through events. I'm about to launch a membership community. So, my vision, if I'm actually really passionate about that, I need a mission with that. So it means that I'm actually making a contribution to that vision of empowered female leaders. And why would I do that? Why would I dedicate myself to doing that? Well, I admire strong, aspirational, purpose-led women. I strive to be one and for gender equality. I also like surrounding myself with those women. That lifts me up. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel empowered and inspired and all of those things. And I recognize that by empowering others, I empower me. And through having a freedom business, my own business, I'm creating the life I love with amazing experiences for me and my family. So actually, all of that feeds into my big vision. But how I'm showing up every day, I'm highly motivated to do it because it's giving me the lifestyle that I want, and I'm surrounding myself with the kinds of people that I want to be surrounded with, who also have these visions and missions of their own, which I support, which really excites me. So hopefully that's helpful for you to have a little think about yours. Like I said, I don't expect you to be able to articulate these really well, but I do want you to have a think about them in the context of your personal brand. A little bit more reprieve, my last quote. So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. So I'm sure lots of you have come across Simon Sinek. He's got some great books. Start with Why, Leaders Eat Last, I think is the title of one of his most recent ones. But his stuff is really compelling. And he uses a great example with Apple and their ethos. He's got YouTube video, like TED Talks and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check out his stuff. I think you'll find it really useful in digging deeper into your why and your purpose. Next question. What do you currently rate your personal brand on a scale of 1 to 10, and why? If you think, okay, actually, I hadn't really thought about a lot of this stuff. I don't feel like I have a vision or a mission. I don't really feel that I'm not sure, I'm not completely clear on my values. I'm definitely not communicating them or showing up as I want to be. If you rate yourself low for those reasons, don't beat yourself up about it. Just think, okay, this is how I feel right now about it. But actually, what we're then going to be working through is, what could I be doing that is going to take me from those lows, 4, 5 out of 10 to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, don't know if that's what, of course it's possible, but who's got one of those? Maybe I don't know, Beckham or Lewis Hamilton at the moment or someone like that, but hey, they're all kind of flawed people, and at the end of the day, no one's perfect, right? So, okay, so just be thinking about where you feel you are at the moment. This is almost like a bit of a reality check. I just want you to have a little bit of a measure so that you can then go away and think about how you can improve. And if it's high, brilliant. But I'm sure there's still loads of stuff you can be doing to bolster your personal brand. Next question. So what do you think others would? So this actually links back, doesn't it, when we were sort of chatting about what others perceive us to be like. So based on that, what do we think others would? What would you like them to know about you? And who needs to know so you can reach your goals and have that impact? Know you, I should say. So again, you actually might feel, I've got a really strong sense of who I am, my values, what's important to me. But thinking about it, do I really communicate that? And do I communicate it in a clear way? So therefore, on that basis, if you feel that's the case, you might rate this lower than your previous. It's really just thinking about, okay, what would I like people to know? And who needs to know about me? So it's thinking about who can you connect with, build relationships with, who's going to help you to achieve the things you want to achieve, have the impact that you want to have. Sorry, I might have skipped a bit there. Prematurely. Next question. So I want you to start thinking about how you could communicate brand you. So this is a bit that I was talking about, that last point about channels, on the point about things that we need to think about when communicating our brand. So what are your preferred channels and what would be most impactful? So it's really important with this that you're thinking about, okay, based on my audience, based on my message, what would it make sense for me, or where would it make sense for me to put out my message? So, if it's within your organization, internal communication could be really important, whether that's, I don't know, a newsletter that your company has, to being at certain meetings or events, or whatever that looks like, thought leadership, that kind of thing. Or if it's industry related, it might be something like LinkedIn, right? A professional social channel. Lots of other professionals on there. Makes sense to be writing articles, to be connecting with people, all that kind of thing. So making sort of a point of regularly checking in on there. Or perhaps if it's kind of course-based, it might be other social channels, or it might be publications. It might be newspapers, it might be magazines, it might be digital publications, events, all that kind of thing. So podcasts, even, being interviewed on podcasts. Think about the kind of content that you consume and then flip it, right? So what do you like to listen to? First of all, because you've got to think about, are you your target audience? If you are, then this is going to be a lot easier in recognizing the channels that it would make sense for you to use. What I would say about this is, I know some of us, I've never really been a fan of social, but I know it's important for me to have it. So it's really about then picking a couple that you can do really well. So preferred is great because you're probably going to show up better on there. But in terms of thinking about what is going to be most impactful, you've really got to be thinking about the digital and physical spaces that your audience are going to be hanging out, or how you can have the impact that you want to have. So thinking that through is pretty important, but it's probably going to push you out of your comfort zone a little bit, I would have thought, hence why it's important to do the inner work, but starting to show up and doing that regularly. I can't even tell you, it might take a bit of time, it might take a bit of plugging, but it will be worth it in the long run. It's like anything, right? It's, if you keep showing up, if you're persistent, you do the right thing by people, all of those things build up and have the desired outcomes that you truly want, if you truly want them, that is. Next question. What could you do to build, grow, and bolster brand you? So who could you connect with, learn from? What support do you need? So, we've just been talking about, there's a lot of things that we've been working through here. For you, it might be really kind of working on that vision, mission, why. It might be really honing your audience, creating that connected, clear message so that you can then show up and put that out there to the world. So it might be then having a social strategy around this, or it might be having a plan to almost like a personal appraisal that you can use within your organization to see, okay, what am I doing? How am I showing up for me, my personal brand, for future me? So with that, it's just thinking about who would it make sense for me to connect with inside my organization, outside of, family, friends. Who can my expanders be? Who else would be great to connect me with others, bring opportunities to me? What do I want to be learning? Who can I learn from? And of course, you don't have to do all of this stuff by yourself, right? So, is there anybody that can help you do social stuff, perhaps, or a coach or a mentor that can really help to support you in your growth? So you might feel that actually I know a lot of this stuff, but what's really holding me back is my confidence, or my ability, or my confidence to articulate myself on this stuff. So perhaps you don't feel like, actually, of course you can do it all by yourself, but maybe you don't want to and you want some support along the way. So let's have a little think about that. So, like with most goals, if you like, it's almost starting with, I like the phrase or expression now, the end goal in mind, but it's thinking about where do you want to go, working backwards from that, so that you can start to take actions accordingly. So that might feel where you want to go big and overwhelming. If you work backwards from that, thinking about, okay, well, if I want to have landed a speaking opportunity by July next year, what do I need to do in order to make that happen for myself? Thinking about it like that. So just being a little bit strategic about it, if you like. And then question 15, what opportunities and experiences would you love to create for yourself? So since I've been running my business, I've been lucky. I've had some great opportunities come my way, I guess, because of the brand that I put out there. I've run events at the WeWork Festival, had food, accommodation, things like that paid for. I've been invited to run an event at Soho Farmhouse, had my accommodation paid for, had a lovely sort of experience with my family, took my husband and my baby boy there. I run my monthly meetup usually at the Albright Female Members Club. I got invited to do that. So there's all these things that I just feel incredibly lucky to be able to do, that I guess effectively I've created for myself, but I didn't actually pursue. And they've kind of come my way as a result of my brand. So I'd just be thinking about, you should absolutely pursue them if you can, but also if you want to create these opportunities and experiences, what are those places or people looking for? How can you stand out? How can you go about attracting these things? And even if they aren't the exact ones, or in addition, you attract other things, that will be a bonus, right? But it's kind of the energy, the message that you're putting out there, you are likely to attract back. And I see it every day, even with my coaching, my website, part of the messaging is I want to work with women that have a positive impact or want to have a positive impact in the world. Guess what? I got all these women coming to me that are kind of mission purpose-led women, which is brilliant. And that's the power of knowing my brand and message. Okay, so we're getting closer to the end. We've just got a couple more quotes. You can't build a reputation on what you are going to do. We've probably all heard of Henry Ford, realize it's a bit of an old school one, but I just really like this because it's kind of segueing into my last question, which is all about action, right? We can say things, we can say our values are this, we can say we want to do this, but actually if we don't show up and do it, we aren't leading by example, we won't be making things happen, and chances are people aren't going to admire, respect, want to follow, or be influenced by our personal brand, right? So this is the last question. I want you to write down 3 to 5 things that you will commit to doing to build and bolster your personal brand in the next 1 to 4 weeks. So the immediate to short term, 1 to 6 months, medium term, and 6 to 12 months, long term. So you might think, actually, I want to do loads of things in the next week or the next month. I want to action those things to kind of get the ball rolling. Or you might recognize, well, I've got this sort of bigger view of wanting to be a consultant or have my own business or be a published author, etc., whatever it is, that might fall into your long term. But actually, in looking at those, what you might recognize is, okay, well, if that's the case, I need to be taking action on those things in the now as well. So I guess this is really kind of thinking about your goals for your personal brand and recognizing that perhaps all of it isn't going to happen overnight, but by having a plan and thinking about, okay, there are things that I can do now to bolster my brand, some quick wins, some low-hanging fruit perhaps, and things that I really want to build on and work towards, because Rome wasn't built in a day. Clarity, progress, great things typically don't happen overnight. So it's just thinking about the bigger picture and what you can be doing to work towards those things. And hopefully you've already got some ideas from that kind of few questions back where we were kind of brainstorming, all the different things that you kind of could do. But I'm gonna give you the opportunity to ask me any questions or advice or anything like that if you want to shortly, if you need a bit of help with this. And then I had to round off with a bit of an Oprah quote. She had to make it in there. But I really like this one. Purpose is the thread that connects the dots to everything you do that leads you to an extraordinary life. And who doesn't want that, right? I know I do. But I think what I've come to realize is if we, particularly as a coach who has worked with thousands or countless of women, thousands of hours worth of coaching, when we are operating from a place of purpose, when we're passionate about what we're doing and when we really care about it, when we know why we do it, it really does mean that we have more happiness, more fulfillment, and we connect with more people that we want to create those amazing opportunities for ourselves and experiences, which therefore contributes to that extraordinary life. So that's it. I would love to give you the opportunity to ask any questions. I'll leave that up there for now and I'll come back to how you can connect with me if you want to. Does anybody have any questions? I can see a few faces now. This is lovely. Who have I got here? I can see your picture, but I can't see your name. Would you mind sharing your actions that you put down or what you took away from today's session? Who have I got here?
Is it me?
Yes. Is it Holly?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Holly.
Don't
thank
look
you.
as my photo, but I think the takeaways for me are the vision, the mission, and the why. Because I think I'm pretty good with branding on LinkedIn, and that's about it at the moment. But it's thinking more long term, I guess, in actually what I want out of life and where I'd like to be. So yeah, and like you said, they're quite difficult questions to answer initially, and they require a lot of thinking. So that will be my homework for today.
And it's great that you feel that you show up on LinkedIn and things like that. Do you find that do you create content? Do you kind of connect with people? How do you go about your LinkedIning then, if you like?
I try and be pretty active on LinkedIn, and I've made sure my profile, I guess, looks legit. We've had a bit of training, fortunately, through work, but because I'm in a sales position, it just, and then also I'm part of a Women in Tech committee at work. So it means when we're sharing content on events that we're personally doing, it just helps with the branding image for both myself and the company.
Brilliant. That's great. Yeah, I think when you know that vision, mission, why, I mean, it sounds like, and particularly if you're in a sales role, I'm guessing you're pretty good at selling yourself and ideas and all that kind of thing anyway, right? Which really helps, doesn't it, with personal brand. But I think for your sense of fulfillment, and also to be able to show up, having that vision and thinking about where you want to go and your mission, your why, that will really enable you, because you're going to be great at selling yourself anyway. But when it comes from that place of purpose, it's all the more powerful, isn't it? And you're far more likely to attract things that you really want into your professional and personal life as well. So that's really great to hear. Thanks, Holly. Really appreciate that.
Welcome, thanks.
And who else can I pick on? Royce, is that somebody that's participating? That's Lucy. Lucy Hood, do you mind contributing?
Hi, Michaela. Can you hear me?
I can, Lucy. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think I feel like I'm fairly still near the start of my career. So I think one of the things I probably need to have a look at is how I can start to, I guess, share my personal brand a bit more. I probably know some of the things that I value and that's important to me, but I guess, yeah, just sharing it a bit more.
And how do you think you'll go about
that? So I guess, like mentioned a few minutes ago, social media, probably LinkedIn, might be a good start. And also within my team, I have a relatively small team, but I guess, yeah, how I share it across both of those areas.
Absolutely. It's nice that you feel like you know the kinds of things that you want to share. So I can imagine you'll have some great results.
Yeah, so I guess there's kind of two options.
You know, with your team or attaching other opportunities, hopefully that will bring things that you perhaps didn't expect through sharing that, you know, because I can hear that you feel strong about those things that you mentioned, whatever they are. So good luck with that. But let me know the results that you get from doing so.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you. This session has been really useful. It's definitely it's given me something to think about, definitely in terms of development and where I want to go for myself. So thank you.
I'm really glad. Thank you very much. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Helen, would you mind sharing?
Hi, hello.
Hi, Helen. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Right, so I guess my takeaway, I missed the start of the session, but from the bits I picked up on, it wasn't necessarily, I think, for me, new stuff that I hadn't had, i.e. having a vision, mission, and the why, but I quite like the way that you had phrased the questions, because it actually got me to start really thinking about things and make them more precise rather than generalizing. So yeah, like I think most people have said, it's given me some homework to go away and think about, because I always find it really difficult when I'm thinking about myself, you know, like actually articulating the things that I'm really good at and that sort of thing. It's always harder when you have to really think about that and put it down. So that's probably my greatest challenge that I know I need to overcome. So so that's been really useful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a really good point, actually, because the more specific you can be, actually, because it is quite, I mean, it's not even easy to be general, is it? But if we can really kind of crystallize our message, it's really powerful, because people can then kind of connect to it. And even if it's almost like it's more niche, you know, you have less people doing, so the people that do are really going to get behind it. So I think, yeah, taking it away, recognizing that this might not come to you overnight, but if you're tuned into it, you're far more likely then to be able to articulate that. And it is a bit of a process, but it will be a really meaningful one for you when you get there. And we're constantly kind of honing it as well, aren't we? And that probably shifts as we grow and our kind of aspirations change, or, you know, we go on our journeys and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of recognizing as well that this can sort of shift and alter and evolve. But ultimately, who we are, what's important to us, what we stand for, will be within that, and will shine through it. The likelihood is. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Jackie, would you mind sharing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I'm just trying to get the identifying your brand is something that keeps coming up in a lot of the internal training that I've been on recently. It is the thing that I struggle with the most, because I'm not great at identifying kind of that long-term thing. I tend to be one of those people who just gets on and does whatever's in front of her, and doesn't really then think about those long-term impacts. So yeah, you know, sort of having more things to think about, and then I'm trying to get as many different ways of approaching this as I can to figure out which one resonates with me the most, that I can then use to develop myself a bit more in that way.
I think actually you can collect lots of different approaches, but actually what's really, and obviously something might resonate with you more or might click for you and really help you. But I would say on that, is that kind of typically what you might do in a given scenario? Could you kind of like to know all your options before making an informed decision? Would you say that's how you operate?
Yeah, I've in the last couple of years, I've moved from being very, very technical to into a non-technical role, who's more managing the services that we provide to our customers. And I found that, yeah, it's still some of the things that I did when I was in the technical role, which was, there's a problem, what are the multiple ways you can fix it, and which is the best one, is still that same approach, because it actually works for me. That's the kind of personality that I am. And then I wind up sort of picking bits and pieces from each one, and then sort of putting it together in a way that works for me, that may not work for anybody else.
I admire that. And I'm sure there's a few other people like yourself, because it's quite typical of more analytical, you know, techie type people, because that's the nature of the personality sometimes, right? You know, it's and it's a strength and ability to do that. Probably can also lead to paralysis of analysis and overwhelm sometimes if it goes too far the other way. But you know, often our strengths can be weaknesses, or things that, you know, catch us out, or, you know, catch us up sometimes. But what I would say with that is, what I would encourage you to do is really look inwards. So just think about, you know, all the answers are actually there for you, but it's about you tuning in to, okay, I know who I am, I know what's important to me. So I think a bit more of the inner connected stuff is important, because then you'll know how to, it will make sense for you. You can assess how you put it out there, but you can't really, you are who you are, you know, and what's important to you is, and maybe thinking about, the vision, because you probably get caught up, you know, devil's in the details sometimes, and you get caught up in that. So maybe being able to shift your thinking a bit more that way. But I would look inwards for the answers, because you won't find them out there anywhere else. But how to communicate it is, you know, the other thing, or who you might need to connect with, or all the different things you could do. That's when that skill set will be really useful. But tune in is what I'd say to that.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Jackie. That was brilliant. Anybody else? Mary from Mary Kent, can I call on you, please?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a difficult one in a way, but I think I've a good idea what my values are, which is hopefully what comes across in my brand. But it's really knowing what other people think, isn't it? It's that you might have an idea in your head how you're trying to come across, but whether that's actually obvious, then that's the challenge, really. So it's getting maybe that feedback. I think that's the main thing. But also the, you know, ensuring that you've got an idea, you're clear about what your values are, what your brand is, because I think values are really important to me in terms of integrity, authenticity, and I think fairness as well, and equality. And I guess one of my values is treating everybody the same as best you can, and giving everybody that, whatever the background is, whatever position they are in a company, whether it's somebody in a, you often hear of people, cleaners say, I'll speak to absolutely everybody in the business. I don't mean that in any derogatory way, but there are some people who don't, and they see people at the lower end of the scale in an organisation as not worth speaking to because it doesn't give them any benefit. So they're some of the values I live by. It's not just to do at work. It's everywhere. It's what you are as a person, but always try to be aware of how that comes across as well. So I think that's kind of what some of the things that you went through today is really, what do you think your brand is, and how do other people see it? That they could be very different. So it's, maybe doing a bit of research in that. And I think one thing I definitely need to do is a bit of mentoring as well. But yeah, no, I think the session was really good.
Thank you.
Thought-provoking.
No, I think you're right. I mean, demonstrating those is one thing. It's recognizing your values, isn't it? Then kind of sense checking. Okay, am I living in alignment with those values? Am I doing what I say is important to me?
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully, as you're doing that, you will start to hear people say, I really admire that in you. Or there will be comments along the way, which you hopefully can then tune into too. And some people downplay these as well.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly as women, I think we do. But it's kind of, okay, people are saying that to me. It must mean that I'm demonstrating this. Like they kind of respect me for my honest opinion or whatever it is. You'll start to kind of hear cues that you are sort of living that way. So I think it's good to kind of get feedback as well. Ask like a circle of a mixture of professional or personal friends, whatever. What would you say my values are, or what kind of person would you say I am, or however you want to kind of word that question to see what comes back. That might be an interesting exercise to do it. But I think something that I've learned as well is that when you really do, when you're really clear on who you are and what's important to you, and you show up for that, of course it matters, because that's the whole point. It's the perception of your brand as well. That is personal brand. But I think you'll have this inner confidence almost, that, okay, this is what's important to me. This is my vision. And because you can communicate that clearly, you'll know that people are buying into it or kind of in agreement with you on that. Or so hopefully there will be cues along the way, when you have that inner confidence on those things. Because it's one thing as well to demonstrate. Sometimes we need to talk, sometimes we need to show, and sometimes we always need to do. But I think sometimes we do need to let other people know this is what I stand for. We can't always take it that all people will know exactly what we do or what we stand for. So there is an element of that self-promotion piece in it too, which is important, I think, as well. But thank you so much. That was brilliant.
No problem, thank you.
Anybody else would like to share? Could I ask Brimmel?
Hi. Yeah. My work name is funny like that. It's my surname.
Very sorry. Good name.
So I found it really interesting. Thank you, and I think you've raised some really good questions for me. I probably feel like I need to work on my sort of purpose and understand what maybe a bit more about what my values might be. But I thought the question about what opportunities and experiences would you love to create for yourself really resonated with me, because I've never sort of really known what I want to do in my career. I'm sort of 32 now and I still don't really know what to do. But I think that gave me some good points. I instantly wrote a few things down of things that I do want to achieve in life, and then I think I can probably then work back from there to get some of those answers to those questions.
I'm glad that struck a chord. I mean, sometimes, yeah, it's asking a different set of questions, isn't it? So that something makes sense for you. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. I want to create that, or, I want to create that kind of experience. Or we might not, have the answers to everything, but one of those things can guide us or give us clues or, lead to actions for us. So I'm really glad that resonated and that was useful for you. But yeah, do the work on the value stuff, because I think that will be powerful for you to know when you're living in alignment with those values, things tend to feel better in life, so that will be powerful for you to do that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I mean, I could keep asking, but does anybody else want to kind of raise anything? Any sort of questions? I can't even see the chat. I don't know if it's because I don't think I've got more chat coming through. Maybe because I'm sharing my screen. Well, I'll check in a moment. I was just going to say, if anybody wants to connect with me, these are my social handles. So @_SheAlmighty on Instagram and Twitter, @SheAlmighty on Facebook, and you can read more about me and my work at shealmighty.com. And these are my direct contact details, so you can drop me a message, a WhatsApp if you've got a question after this, or an email, michaela@shealmighty.com. More than happy to answer any questions or guide you in any way that I can. So yes, please don't hesitate to get in touch if I can help at all. But thank you so much for attending this session. I really hope everybody was able to take something away from it. And I really appreciate your involvement and willingness to contribute when I called upon you and I crept in there and subjected you to that. So thank you for being so responsive. I really appreciate it. But I will stop sharing my screen now. And oh yes, so sorry, I have got some notes in here. Where have we got the chat? So people put rather than passive. Okay. Oh, thank you. Some really lovely comments. Important for standing out from the rest is how you and everyone around you sees you. Ability to influence. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lee, for all your comments. I hope that that was useful. But I'll let you go to your afternoons and evenings now. And take care and look after yourselves in these strange times, and have a wonderful, nearly Christmas, right? So have a wonderful Christmas and New Year. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.